Welcome everyone. Welcome to the tasting number 3, the third tasting of the Campania box. We're tasting this guy. This kind of white label with a green kind of straps going across. 2021 Benito Ferrera, Sequenzha, Fiano di Avellino is what we're drinking today. Don't have a lot of announcements. I don't have much announcement today. For those of you who, I'm sure everybody has this already, but the wine prom is exactly 1 week from this coming Saturday. So mark your calendar if you haven't already. You will get a little more information on it. I will send out some things. Probably asking, I haven't got a lot of dietary restriction requirements from a lot of people, but I know there's some dietary restrictions out there. So I will shoot out an email. I may attach a little dietary restriction survey just to see if they'll get something in. But if you don't say anything, don't be surprised if there's nothing. Well, that will be something for you. But I just want to make sure that I can give you plenty of options just to play around. So I don't need to finalize the menu till next week. So I just want to wrap it all up so you get that email this week as well. I can still, there's still also spots open. I can use some more people at the wine prom. So if you have some friends, family, coworkers, whoever you want to invite, let me know. And then we'll get them all booked up for wine prom. Besides that, this month we are donating to Capital Area Food Bank. It's the biggest food bank here in DC metro area. So if you want to donate alongside 6 of One Club, the link is right there. And if you want to learn more about what they do, the link is right there as well. That's about all the, oh, and then the invoices went out 2 days ago. Let me know if you're joining for the next month. Let me know if you're not. The wine quantity is a little limited next month. So I do need to, I think I have plenty, enough to get them all going, but but just in case, just let me know RSVP on your enrollment for next month, just so I can get you all set up. But it should be okay. But yeah, just in case. Next month is going to be Emilia Romagna box. I mean, I call it Emilia Romagna box, but it's really going to be a Lambrusco box. So it's going to be all Lambrusco, all different styles of Lambrusco. So we're talking about sparkling, again, sparkling box, but a lot of sparkling reds, but we do have some rosé in there as well. We're going to see all these different styles of Lambrusco. Lambrusco is not this one monolithic, one style of wine. It actually ranges quite a bit. And then the point of next month is kind of showcase that not all Lambrusco is created equal. It's the whole point. So, yeah. Any questions about anything that I just went over before we get into the wine? Excellent. Excellent. In that case, if you're just joining us now, we're tasting this guy today. 2021 Benito Ferrera, Sequenzha, Fiano di Avellino is what we're tasting today. By the way, in case you haven't checked out the back label yet, the De Grazia, the importer, is a fantastic Italian importer. Their book is incredible. So if you're a fan of Italian wine, it may be worth checking out De Grazia's website or their producer profiles and see who they import. And if you like this wine, chances are you probably like some of their other wines. We've had some of their, I feature some of the De Grazia's ones in Piedmont box as well. So yeah, there's check it out. Good books. Anyways, let's start with the map. Here we go. Here is a map of Italy. We are in southern Italy this month. So we're in this Campania, which is down here by Naples, the third biggest city in Italy. We have been along the coast for the last 2 weeks, right? With the Corniano. And then we had, what did we have last week? The Terramata, the Sataro, the Aglianico from just like a little peninsula right on Vesuvius. No, this is before the peninsula, so it's right along here on the coast, right up on the Vesuvius National Park. So we're pretty much right along the coast, very warm Mediterranean area. And for next 2 weeks, but particularly this week, we are going inland. So now we're going towards this part, and it changes quite a bit. That's why Campania is kind of fun, because you get this kind of a Mediterranean, dry, warm, almost, very touristy, beachy kind of a landscape. And as you go inside, it gets much cooler. The weather actually becomes continental. So there's some actually snow-capped mountains in here. There's even ski resorts in this area. That's how high it gets in terms of elevation and how cold it gets. It gets very mountainous. So it's a very different landscape that we're talking about now. And I wanted to actually show you this. So if you look at this map, so Naples here, this whole kind of red dotted area. So we're in Italy, we're in Campania, and we are going inland. So this red dot here is the Avellino province. There's a city of Avellino. It shows on this map. City of Avellino in here, that's basically the capital of this province. And that's where this wine gets its name from. Fiano di Avellino. This Avellino province and region is essentially that's known for their Fiano. In here, there is this winery, where this winery is located is how to work this very well. There you go. There you go. Ferrera. Benito Ferrera is in there. So this town of Tufo is a very small town. It's like a town of less than 1,000 people. But around here is, if you're a Campania wine fan, Campania white wine fan, you've probably heard of Greco del Tufo. There's a grape called Greco that comes from this Tufo region. And this is what they're known for. In fact, Benito Ferrera, they're really known for their Greco del Tufo. And I tasted that as well, but for some reason, their Fiano is what really spoke to me. So that's why I ended up putting it in the box. But this label you see here, Vigna Chigonia, I believe that's how it's pronounced. But this bottling is their kind of a signature bottling. But this is where the winery is, just up on the hills from just north of the town of Tufo. And if you look at the entire kind of map, like take a note of where this is in relations to Benevento, which is just a little south of there. So Benevento is here. So we're talking about kind of the northwestern part of Avellino province. This is where we are. As you can see here, there's a topographical map. You see the mountain running through here. So we're getting into a pretty mountainous region. Here's in fact a map of their vineyard. This is actually the exact vineyard where this Fiano comes from. But you can kind of see already the mountains are running in the back. It changes quite a bit. It's no longer it's no longer a coastal, Mediterranean climate. We're into the mountains. The Fiano has a long history here in Campania. It is an indigenous variety of this region. You might have heard, because you probably not, because I don't know how many of you guys are, geeky enough that you were reading Pliny the Elder's writing of the wine from this region. But what's that?
I said I did read Pliny the Elder's.
Well, I'm not surprised that you would read that, Heidi. But besides Heidi, I don't know how many of you guys have. But in that writing, he talks about a Roman wine called Apianum. And in fact, even today, the name Apianum, it means it's permitted to appear on the labels of Fiano di Avellino. So if you ever come across the name Apianum written on a Campanian white wine, know that is essentially Fiano di Avellino. It's a DOCG. The Fiano is just small, kind of thick-skinned berries, produce very little juice. Coupled with the fact that it's a very low-yielding grape variety, it's basically quite unprofitable as a winemaker to grow these grapes. And for all these reasons, following the phylloxera, Fiano just kind of largely became forgotten, and it actually went almost extinct until 1945, when one of the local winemakers ended up actually seeking out the last remaining Fiano in around the village of Avellino, and that's how the Fiano de Avellino really came to be. So in 1945, he made 30 bottles to begin with, and then from there, the presence of these Fiano grape varieties slowly kind of grew in this region, but it largely remained really not that well known internationally, or even within Italy, outside of Campania or outside of this region. It was extremely rare all through the 70s and 80s. But Fiano di Avellino got its first DOC status in 1978, which ended up subsequently getting upgraded to DOCG in 2003. But with that DOC recognition, label recognition, the world started kind of paying attention. Italy started paying attention, and the world started paying attention. And then now it's not uncommon to see Fiano. It's kind of experienced this kind of a renaissance in the late 90s through the 2000s, and then coming up. And then now it's not uncommon to find Fiano. If you go to any Italian restaurant that has a pretty sizable, decent Italian wine list, and as a Campanian wine list, you're most likely going to see Fiano. And not just in the US, but all around the globe. So it has kind of experienced this kind of a resurgence and renaissance. So a lot of it also because people started paying attention to Southern Italian wines. For the longest time, Southern Italian wines were kind of looked down upon. But then as the popularity of Southern Italian wines became high, and people wanted to find wines made from indigenous varieties, things like Fiano really became popular. Fiano di Avellino is a large area, as you saw on that map. It covers about 26 communes or villages. The mountain peaks reach all the way up to about 6,600 feet in elevation. But Fiano is usually planted in the slopes right between 300 to 650 meters, somewhere around there. So that's anywhere between 1,000 to 2,100 feet in elevation. And given its size, as you can imagine, the style of Fiano varies quite a bit. So all the way from in the eastern part of Fiano di Avellino, they have much more clay-dominated soil, and it yields more mineral, really lacy, really acid-driven, pristine kind of Fiano. In the southern sector, it's much lower in elevation, and then the soil is much loosely packed. So the wines are much lighter in body, it's fruitier, it's really made for early kind of young consumption. In the northern part, they have a lot more volcanic soil, so you get a lot more bigger and more savory wines. And in the northwestern part, and the higher up in the foothill, that's where you get the most amount of elevation. It is very poor in rocky soils, and there's also a layer of volcanic ash. So that's where you get the most rich, most powerful, kind of smokiest, most age-worthy examples of Fiano. And this winery is kind of getting into that territory of that soil type, really volcanic ash and rocky soil. So if you like tonight's bottle, Fiano is a really good vehicle to kind of explore this region in, just because again, it's big. All the soil types different, elevation changes. So having a single variety to experience or explore this region with is kind of cool to have. So check it out if you like Fiano. Seek out some of Fiano that's made in different communes, not just where this one comes from, and you'll be able to tell the difference. What's cool about Fiano, and we'll talk more about this when we get to tasting it, it's actually definitely my favorite grape variety out of Campania. That's including the red wines. It often has this kind of like waxy, oily texture. It's got a lot of weight for a white wine with such great acid and mineral structure. It's got a lot of weight. It It oxidizes pretty easily. So you often get a little oxidative influence on the wine. So you get like layer of a hazelnut. But you know, underneath all of that is just the core of that kind of like orchard fruit, citrus rind. It also ages kind of beautifully, and it turns into this kind of like burnt orange skin. That hazelnut really comes out even more as the wine ages. So it's a really fun grape. It's delicious while it's young and fresh, but also it ages, it turns into just something really cool and different. So really fun grape to play with for not only for pairing, but also to drink. So if you've never had Fiano before, I highly recommend that you seek out the older vintage, like an older Fiano, aged Fiano, because it's pretty fun. It's a fun wine. Who makes this wine? Where'd it go? There you go. It's this lady. She's the fourth generation of the Ferrera family. Her name is Gabriella Ferrera, and her husband, Sergio. I couldn't find his picture anywhere, but they run the family estate now. It was her great-grandfather, Nunciante Ferrera, who first planted vineyards in the region where their family estate is back in 1860. And it says it right on the label here, since 1860. He was a judge in Avellino. So he kept this kind of meticulous records of his activities, including transporting his wines by donkey to the town of Tufo that we showed you on the map, to sell wines to his local restaurants and private clients. But it was never like a commercial thing. He just made it, planted grapes, made wine. It's a side passion project, and he just sold it to just kind of local businesses here and there. But it was never meant to be like a commercial thing. But the estate is actually named after Nunciante's grandson, Benito, which is Gabriella's father, who was the first one to really concentrate on producing high quality wine rather than just producing it for the family and some friends. And in 1991 is when that was the first vintage as a commercial winery, as a Benito Ferrera, and that's when the family estate was born. They started out with a 2.5 hectares that Nunciante planted, but now they farm 12.5 hectares between 450 to 600 meters above sea level. And they annually, including all of their wines, they make Greco del Tufo, they make Fiano, they also make Aglianico. I think they make Tarassi too. I have to double check that. Don't quote me on that one. But all of it combined, they make 50,000 bottles. So very, very small winery. They do have a enologist, Paolo, who assists in winemaking, but Gabriella is the one who kind of leads, along with their husband, is the one who leads all of it. As I mentioned, they're really known for their Greco del Tufo. In case you've never had Greco, by the way, especially if you're like a big red wine drinker, you should check it out. It's kind of like a red wine drinker's white wine. It is high alcohol, full body, like it almost has like this tannic texture to it. It's opulent, it's big. Yeah, it's got some chew to it. The wine is big. So check it out. But again, I don't know. I love Fiano, and then their Fiano for this vintage really spoke to me. So I picked their Fiano, not Greco. But I will feature their Greco del Tufo on Case Club, so you guys can check it out as well. But yeah, today we're tasting their Fiano. What is this wine? It's 100% organic Fiano from 40-year-old vines grown at 500 meter above sea level. So again, now we're coming off the coastal Mediterranean seafloor, and then we're getting up to the mountains. It is a whole cluster, really gently pressed, and along with a free run juice. In case you haven't heard that, free run is essentially when you put the grapes kind of in the tank or in a press, just from their own weight, it just kind of presses and then the juice runs out. So it's not actually pressed. There's no actual pressure being applied. It's a juice that runs out from its own weight. That's called free run juice, and it's often considered the best part of the wine, best part of the must. So really high-end wines There's some wines that are made with just a free run juice, and then they try to charge premium for it. But obviously, it's just like as you press, at some point, that will actually the winemaker will cut off the pressing, saying we're going to use the juice up to this point. If you ever go to winery while they're pressing the grapes, the winemakers there constantly tasting the fresh juice that's coming off. And at some point, he will just cut it off. He or she will cut it off because it just extracts too much of tannin, phenol, polyphenol, and tannin, all these things that you necessarily don't want. But the free run is the juice that has the least of that. It's just a free, essentially, free juice that comes out from its own weight. Taking care to protect from oxygen, like I mentioned, Fiano is very susceptible to oxidation. And then, so this is all done in stainless steel tank. All ferments mature in stainless steel tank for 8 months. It does get batonnage. It's just a fancy French word for stirring of the lees. So while the wine is aging in that stainless steel tank on those lees, the fine lees, they will go around, either use a stick, or if it's a big stainless steel tank, they usually have some sort of I don't know, turbine or something to kind of stir the whole thing, like a blender, but not that aggressive. Just kind of stir the lees into the wine. Doing that over and over again not only changes the texture of the wine, it kind of gives like a richness, but it also changes the flavor. Oftentimes, the wines that have been batonnaged to death, you will get like a lot of like cheese rind, like a creamy, like a brie outside, like the rind kind of a thing going on. But yeah, so it can be overdone. But in this case, oftentimes the Fiano producers, the fashionable way of making Fiano is to give it that batonnage, to give it a little more structure, texture, and the flavor as well. This particular Fiano, there are only 700 cases produced annually. So we're talking about very, very small amount of wine that is made every year. Yeah, that's all I got. Any questions about Fiano, Campania, anything before we get into the tasting?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you go back to the photo of the guy, of the lady, the Benito's granddaughter?
Gabriella?
Yeah, Gabriella. Why are the bottles stored upside down?
Huh. No idea.
Probably to keep
No.
the wet.
Maybe they're just moving. These are wines that are like meant to be moved pretty quickly. I'm not sure. No idea.
I had a question real quick
Yeah.
about the oily, like there's a couple of wines that are just typically have that
Mhm.
is that a mouth? It's not a taste, it's like a mouth feel, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I try, like on the grapes that I know that it's supposed to be on, I'm trying to find it,
Mhm.
but I don't really know.
Pinot Gris has a lot of the kind of waxy, oily kind of thing. Are you asking me which variety has it? Wait, sorry.
No, I'm asking like in your mouth, how, like, I don't really know how to call it. Like I'm not understanding what the oily mouthfeel is. So like what is
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is just kind of the weight first. Like so, like if you're when we get to a body of this, we're gonna, we'll talk about this body, but I mean, I'll give it away. Like I think this is like a medium plus bodied wine, you know. So there's some body, weight, density to it, but it's like imagine if you took like a mouthful of olive oil. Like if you ever gotten like olive oil tasting, like with
I
the
am getting that on like the end.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm skipping go, guys. Sorry. We can do it later, but
Yeah, there's a lot of weight to this wine, and that's a Fiano. I mean, it's just like
yeah, like even like a high, like this is a decent amount of acid too. But when at the we're not even drinking it. I'm gonna shut up and then we'll talk about it later.
okay.
Scooping us out here.
All right, we'll taste and then we can come back to it. Any other questions?
I have a question because Avellino is where my people come from. Yeah, is Fiano, at least some of them, is Fiano the most sort of common grape for Avellino, or is there another one?
I mean, Avellino, Greco, there's quite a bit of the Terrassi Aglianico being made here as well. But so there all those things are being made here. Trebbiano is also some planted here. But of all the things, probably what Avellino is most well known for is Fiano. There are only two. Yeah, I believe there are only two DOCGs, if I remember correctly. And of course, this would be a lot more effective if I remember the other one. I believe there are only two white wine DOCGs in all of Campania, and one of them is Fiano di Avellino. And the fact that Avellino is attached to the name of the wine probably says a lot about what they do the best. But
That
yeah,
was my other question.
What's that?
That was my other question.
Yeah, Greco di Tufo is actually the other DOCG. But Fiano di Avellino, when wine people think of Fiano, we think about it. That's pretty tough. Any other questions? All right, let's taste the wine. Does anybody feel like taking the whole thing today? Appearance all the way to the finish? Anybody want to step up to the plate and take the whole thing? You don't have to. We can do the double section. Everybody takes one section at a time.
Come on, guys. Ong's looking for the prodigy.
I mean, no one is taking the exam, so like there's no pressure to do this, but
I feel like since my people are from this part of the world, I should at least start us off. I'm not committing to the whole thing, but I'll start us off.
All right, Hazel, you take us as far as you want, and then someone else will take over. How about that?
Sounds good. This wine is definitely clear.
This wine is definitely clear.
I would say it's medium intensity.
Yeah, agreed.
On color, I would say lemon, maybe a lemon gold.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I would say this is a pale gold, medium lemon kind of a thing. Yeah.
No real other observations. Ooh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, there was just a very loud sort of explosion noise in our neighborhood. Dog does not like it. Hashtag Washington, D.C.
Mish mish.
Okay,
All right,
I'll keep going. This wine is clean.
Wine is clean. This wine is sound.
I would say it's probably about medium plus intensity. It's definitely, I'm like several inches off the glass.
Yeah, I'm like here.
Yeah, plus.
So I'm gonna call this medium plus as well. Medium plus intense. Aromas of
all sorts of things. The first thing I got, well, I guess I'll go down here. So there's definitely something floral here.
Yeah. What do you get?
Oh, what do I get? What do you get, Jesse? Jesse's here with me. He's great at the floral stuff. You had said jasmine earlier. I feel like I buy that. Maybe like, I don't know, kind of buying the elderflower thing.
Yeah, elderflower is better.
Yeah,
there's like a sweetness to it.
100%.
Yeah.
There's that like blossomy, honeysuckle, even jasmine.
Yeah.
Yeah, something sweet, really like floral kind of a thing. Yeah, for sure.
Green fruit. Nah, I mean, you could convince me that there's a little bit of like an unripe pear maybe thing going on, but I'm not getting like a huge amount of the green fruit.
Okay, call me crazy, but when I first opened this, I got like, have you guys ever had those Asian pears?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It like almost tastes like a melon.
Yeah, exactly. Like melony, if like melon, pear, and an apple had like a three-way and had a legitimate child, like that's what it smelled like.
Totally.
That's how genetics works.
Precisely.
I'm
yeah,
getting
like,
a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, that like the Asian pear thing. So for those of you who are not familiar with Asian pear, by the way, you should all go try Asian pear because it's delicious. But it's like a crunchy pear, melon, all of that. Sorry, go ahead.
And the Asian pear is really, really sweet. I mean, I'm getting a little bit of the sweetness on the nose, but I'm also getting a lot of lemon, like so much lemon.
Yeah.
It's kind of punching
Yeah,
me
a
in the
lot of citrus. Exactly. A lot of citrus, for sure.
And back to my first comment, when I first smelled this wine, peach was like overwhelming. Now that it's
mellowed
been
a
in
bit.
my glass, it's mellowed quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's definitely some like a peach, like a white peach, some orchard fruit going on here for sure. Yeah.
Tropical, I mean, we talked a little bit about the melon. I'm getting a little bit of melon, but not so much that I would call it melon alone.
Yeah.
No red fruit, no black fruit, no dried fruit, although I'd be really interested to see what this did if it aged. And then on the herbaceous, maybe like a little bit of capsicum.
Yeah, just a little bit.
A little bit of white pepper. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not a whole lot. Like there's definitely Fianos that have much more that kind of like actual basil, tomato leaf kind of a thing going on. Like this one is a lot riper. Like the fruit is much riper and stronger. But yeah, like I usually with the Fiano, I guess some level of like, I don't know, a hint of like a basil leaf or a hint of like some sort of green kind of a that thing. Yeah, like this one is not super strong, but I think I get a little bit of it. But again, that just may be me convincing myself because that's what I get from Fiano. Okay. Anything else?
In terms of herbal, not so much. I mean, it's a little hard to differentiate because I feel like what I'm getting as a capsicum, maybe someone else would get as like an herbal something.
Yeah.
Jesse mentioned white pepper,
Okay.
which I don't totally get that, but I respect it.
Okay.
And I don't know, is there anything stony here? Not really. Maybe like, I don't know, you could convince me that there's like a little bit of a chalkiness.
Yeah, I get a little bit of that. I get a little bit of like the river stone, that kind of like there's something stony here, but like it's not like a crushed rock, just like a wet stone kind of a thing. But yeah. But very, very ripe. A lot of this kind of fruit, citrus. The citrus is really strong. Like that's the core of it, but like there are all these layers of different things on top of it. Which is cool. Any secondary? Any tertiary?
So I did get a little bit of gasoline on the nose, or like,
Okay.
a little something extra on the nose especially when I first poured it.
I feel like it was
Okay.
off gas.
Yeah, it wasn't as strong as gasoline, but it was definitely like, I don't know whether that was an MLF or something, or whether it was.
Do you still get it now?
A little tiny bit, yeah.
It
Maybe
may
it's something-
be that because I know they try to be real careful about, because Fiano oxidizes quite easily, they try to be really careful about not exposing oxygen, not having contact with oxygen. So it was probably a little reductive, and there's probably a little bit of that coming off when you first poured it. But if it's blowing off, then it's definitely reduction. But if it's not blowing off, then there's something else going on.
Yeah, I think it must be reduction then.
Okay. Any secondary? Any tertiary? Anything else? Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, agree. I think this is still very much a primary driven wine, but kind of we named a lot of other things like floral, green fruit, citrus fruit, stone fruit, some of these kind of herbaceous herbal kind of a thing. And then Jesse mentioned the spice, little flinty, little whetstone kind of thing. But yeah, a lot of things in the primary. But yeah, cool. You want to take us through the palette?
I feel like someone else should have a chance. I've been talking a lot. Does
Keep
anyone
going.
else want to take the palette?
You did 2 of the 3, girlfriend. Go, 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 go.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go. This one is definitely dry. I would say it's medium acid, but again, my acidometer is totally skewed by Un's wine choices. That was a joke, but
Yeah, spend some time on this thing. It's got some acid.
what
I
did you?
clicked-
Jesse's literally coughing because he just swished his wine.
No, I just laughing.
Yeah, I gleeked across my keyboard earlier. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna call this medium plus acid. And Fiano. So in the white wine world, there are 2 kinds of white wines I really enjoy. There are ones that are like super sharp, high acid, linear, like Riesling, Chenin, that round. But then there's also on the opposite spectrum of that, these really like fat, big, round, like heavy volumed white wines, but with like a searing acidity. There are not that many grapes that can do that, and this is one of them. Grillo from Sicily is another one that I really enjoy for the same reason, like a big-bodied whites with a searing acidity. But Fiano, Greco, but particularly Fiano, I feel like it just, yeah, the acid is great on this thing, even though
It's
got the-
definitely making my mouth water as I'm sitting here
Yeah.
having just tasted it.
Yep. So dry, call this medium plus. Tannin, we don't have to talk about that. Alcohol, what percentage do you think is?
I think this is probably medium plus. There's like a little bit of I don't know. I kind of feel the burn a little bit. I would say medium plus. I don't know. What do you think?
What do you think the
Jesse?
percentage
Guessing
is?
13. I think we said 13.
Yeah, that's what I would get.
Oh my God, it's exactly 13.
Now look at you.
You cheated.
I
Did you
didn't.
cheat?
No.
He didn't cheat. Wow.
Yeah.
You've shot him well.
I believe this is 13. I mean, drinks like 13. So it's a higher end of medium, but I'll still at 13%, I'll still call it medium. At 13.5 to like 14.5, you're really getting into medium plus territory here. But at 13, I would still call it medium, but it's definitely the higher end of medium. It's not 12, for sure. Mousse, we don't have to talk about that. Flavor intensity.
Oh no, you skipped body. I think for body,
Mm.
we're at like medium, I
Yeah.
would say. What do you say? I would say 1%.
For a white? I don't know. Feels
So that's like
2%.
medium minus.
Yeah, I think it's 2%.
Jesse's from the
Yeah.
Midwest, so we'll go with his assessment.
I don't know.
How cold is your wine, by the way?
Not very.
Okay, then that shouldn't matter. So this wine earlier, when I tasted it, when I first opened it, tasted it, I call this medium plus in body. Yeah, there's some weight on this thing.
Pretty heavy.
Yeah, I'm gonna call this. I'm still gonna call this medium plus.
As it's getting warmer, it seems like it's getting heavier.
That's probably right.
And that's usually what happens. Yeah, I mean, again, Piano is usually why I like it because it's got some body. But yeah, I'm gonna call this medium plus. But all right, flavor intensity.
Medium plus. Like this is
Yes.
lingering for quite a while.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, none of these flavors are shot. They all let you know that they're there. Are you confirming everything that you smell? Is there anything that you're getting on the palate that you didn't smell?
I am confirming everything that I smelled. I think on the palate, I'm getting more of like an herbal and like a stony kind of flavor that I didn't quite get as much of on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
That's what I was gonna say. The minerality is what I was gonna talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The honeysuckle, that green fruit, citrus fruit, all the things you mentioned, it's dead on, still there. Everything's great. Touch of that little savory, kind of that like a green kind of a thing, totally there. But the stone is, to me, it's like one. There's also some salinity here. Like there's some
Yeah.
saltiness here that's running through.
Definitely.
Yeah. A lot more like kind of Western salty kind of a thing. So on the palate, I'm getting it way more than I did on the nose, for sure.
Totally. I agree with them.
Anything else? Any secondary, any tertiary, any evidence of batonnage, any of these things?
I still don't totally understand what batonnage is, to be honest with you.
So
Sorry.
no. When the wine ferments, right? They ferment it in whether it be concrete, stainless steel, barrel, whatever, and then they move that wine into another aging vessel. Again, whether it be stainless steel, concrete, barrel, or whatever. But there are dead yeast cells, lees, that are left over from the fermentation that's still suspended in the wine, and over time they will settle to the bottom. One way to do it is to actually rack the wine off of those lees and then age it off the lees. Oftentimes, or another way to do it is leave it just on the lees without stirring them. But sometimes they'll go in there and actually stir those lees and resuspend it into the air. And that is called batonnage. That's what French call it, batonnage, the stirring of the lees. The reason why winemaker does that or choose to do that is two reasons: flavor and texture. So usually the wines that have gone through batonnage has rounder, a little bit fuller kind of a mouthfeel and texture and weight. And then flavor-wise, you tend to pick up these kind of autolytic flavors. Obviously, you're not spending a whole lot of time on there. You're not batonnaging for like years. But sometimes if you batonnage a lot, you'll get these kind of like cheese rind, like I said, like a brie skin kind of a thing going on that you can pick up from that as well. But I don't get a whole lot of it here.
I could see it heading in that direction. Like there's a little something that I kind of manifested as a dried sort of fruit thing, like a dried peach or dried apricot, like sort of that, like very, when the fruit gets really, really, I don't know, sugary and then it's dried, but I don't get a lot of it.
Okay. Oftentimes they also talk about like hazelnut with Fiano. I rarely come across hazelnut with a young Fiano. Whereas a Fiano ages, it definitely shows a lot of that kind of like hazelnutty, kind of a little bit nutty character. But again, that's because there's oxidation. I mean, like I mentioned, Fiano oxidizes pretty easily. So as it ages, it picks up some of these kind of hazelnut, nutty kind of things, which is pretty cool. But on this one particularly, I don't get a whole lot of that. I get a little bit of that basil kind of a savory, besides all the really ripe fresh fruit that you mentioned and flour. The savory component balance here for me is that kind of like a little bit of savory green thing here. And then as and we'll get back to talking about this with Heidi about the weight and then oiliness, but the mouthfeel, the texture of this wine, there's definitely some weight and weightiness here, which I really like. All right, the finish, the length. How long is the finish?
It's pretty long.
Stays with you.
Agreed.
It's medium plus at least, maybe pronounced actually.
Yeah.
Or long, sorry.
Medium plus as well. Yeah. It's not, it's persistent, it lingers. At first I get all that kind of like all the fruit salad, all the fruits that you mentioned, the flour, and then I get the salinity and the rocks, or then I get the savory kind of the touch of that green, and then the rocks come in, and the salinity and the salty kind of a thing lingers around. But yeah, I'll call this medium plus as well. All right, well, you have done it all, Hazel and Jesse. Take us home, the final stretch. How good is this wine, and would you age it?
I think this wine is very good.
This wine is
Based
very
on-
good. We
based on
called
what
it
we said.
medium plus on the concentration. We called a bunch of stuff on the complexity, on the primary. But there's no secondary, tertiary really. So we'll call that what? Medium, maybe high end of medium, low end of medium plus. And then the finish, we called it medium plus. You called it even possibly long. So I would say, I think there's a good argument to argue that this wine is at least very good.
Very good
Uh,
plus.
Yeah, very good plus. Outstanding minus, very good plus. Would you age it?
I mean, I would say it's delicious. It's totally delicious. I would drink it now, but I also think that it has some aging potential for sure.
How long would you age it?
I don't know, like 5, 8 years,
Yeah, I was
maybe. I don't know, maybe longer. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to, unless you've had older Fiano before, it's hard to gauge obviously how Fiano ages. But we got decent acid here, medium plus. We got the concentration here. We call it medium plus and all across. We got the complexity already, so I think it's a good candidate for aging Fiano. Fiano, in my opinion, I've never had Fiano older than like 8 years. And it's not meant to be like Fiano is not like the wine that ages forever. But I would say like, I don't know, next 5 years, this thing will probably start showing some of that oxidative edge. So 5 to 8 years, I would say, is probably easy for this thing. I would definitely check up back on it in like year 5, year 4 even. But yeah, I would say delicious now, drink it now, but enjoy it over the next 5 to 8 years is probably what I would say on this one. Excellent. You've done it all. You've just taken us through the entire grid.
so
Like-
proud.
You're welcome, everyone.
Her
Like a
people must be
professional.
very proud.
We're all very
Good work.
grateful.
They were onion farmers, so I don't care.
Onions are very important to the Italian diet.
Any questions?
Part of the base of any good red sauce.
Yeah, indeed. Any questions? Any other comments? How many of you guys have had Fiano before?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious.
I just had the same reaction. I was like, I think so, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Not that I also just poured myself a fresh glass. It has a little bit of dissolved CO2, which makes sense. It was all the same.
Yes.
stuff.
I caught that on the nose.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw me, like, I got a nose tickle from it.
Or maybe that's what Hazel, you were actually smelling. You said there's some like a gasoline. Maybe it's all the dissolved CO2 actually coming off the glass. Anyways, all right.
Science.
How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? And how much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? It's a ZOCG wine. It's got some ageability, but it's drinking beautifully now. Well-known producer. What do you think?
Lose my touch, guys.
God damn it, this wine is good. I mean, it's like a neutral white, but it's not. It's got more. It's got
You
layers.
know the oily feeling I'm getting now that I thought a lot about it while Hazel was going through. You know when Parmesan cheese gets kind of oily, you've left it like it's not in the fridge, it's not cold, it's like got the oil on it.
Yeah.
That's the like feeling I got.
Okay. Yeah, there's
I-
something like olive oily here. Like I don't know. I always get like a little olive oil, basil.
It's a
I
nice,
don't know.
it's a nice change in sensation because I do also drink a lot of high acid whites.
Yeah.
So it's nice to not end the end of the mouthfeel to be like drying or lemony.
Or like stabbing you. This is very like round. So
Yeah, I'm used to that, but yeah,
it's a nice
it's
bug.
kind of a nice change.
Yeah, for sure. All right, 27.35, 29.31, 36.40. We pay 40. All right. And the winner is Phil. This would be $30 on a retail shelf.
That's
Yeah, I think for $30, I think this is a banger. I mean, really good quality, it's ageable. Yeah, it's drinkable now. It's very delicious now, so you can enjoy with your dinner now. But you can also lay a few bottles down. Great candidate for laying it down, and you don't have to age it for like 10, 15 years to really see what aging does. With things like Fiano, you'll see the aging, what aging does to wine within the next 5 years. So you'll see it rather shortly. So great candidate for picking up a few extra bottles and laying down, is what I would say on this thing. Any questions? Also, did anybody not like this wine? Curious what people thought about this wine in general. What's your general opinion of this one? Especially if you've never had Fiano. The reason I ask is because, and I know we have some wine geeks on this call right now, but a lot of wine geeks on this call. But, I find Fiano really interesting because it's kind of a neutral white, but it's not. Like there are more layers, it's a little more interesting, comes back. But that's probably because I've had a lot of other Italian whites, and compared to other Italian whites, this, even though it's a neutral white, it is quite interesting. There's a lot more. Fiano has a lot more to say. But for people who are not familiar with the Italian whites or white wines in general, like, do you taste this and just think this just tastes like white wine? Or is there some, like, do you pick up the kind of the nuances and differences that are like we're geeking out about here? That's what I'm curious about.
I mean, this one reminds me of a Malvasia, but I don't.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, it's got that floral kind of like, yeah, really sweet fruit. Yeah, you can see that.
but definitely one from the Canaries because of the acidity, and
Yeah.
you get a lot of minerality out of this. But
Anyone else? Any other comments? I really liked it, and it tastes a lot like Chardonnay to me. Okay. Really ripe Chardonnay. Yeah, for sure. You see that. This one is so fat. I like it. But never doesn't lose the acid backbone, but it's voluptuous. I like it.
It's a have your cake and eat it too kind of wine.
Yeah. Dig it. Dig it. Pairing. What did people pair with this? Hazel, did you make za'atar? Did you use za'atar?
Yes. So we decided to grill because you guys know we love to overindulge on Wednesday nights. We did a shrimp. Whoa. Hey now. We did a shrimp on the grill with za'atar, lemon, garlic, and it was delicious, like really, really delicious with it. And then we also I got a couple little pieces of halibut and we did the same marinade, and that was good too. That was really good too. It tasted great. We did some potatoes with oregano and rosemary, and those spices also tasted lovely.
Okay.
it
Did
was
anybody
also very good with Asian spice.
Yeah.
Like fried chili and oil. It went
I can
very
see
well.
Yeah.
They recommended seafood, and I'm gonna be honest with you, unless your seafood had a nice marinade that has been described. I think this wine would overpower a delicate fish. It's just too strong.
You think it's too big or too much flavor?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's just I just
Yeah.
don't think your dish can be subtle.
Yeah. That's actually excellent. Now I'm really curious, but I have some chili crunch in my fridge. I want to try this with a chili crisp.
It worked perfectly.
Yeah, I bet it does
I
work.
like
Yeah,
it
now that
better
you
than
mention
I
it.
like a Riesling with something spicy like that.
Yeah. I can see that. Okay. Anyone else?
I had like a vegetarian sort of dinner where I made like this olive oil heavy roasted butternut squash with like tossed with spinach and walnuts and dried cranberries, and then I had like a spinach ricotta ravioli with it, just like a little bit
I bet that,
out nicely.
yeah, spinach ricotta went actually quite well with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the acid was nice with the cream.
Yeah.
Ricotta. But the
Okay.
butternut squash was oily enough. I think the mouthfeel worked out.
Okay. Cool. Any other questions?
Can I see Chris and Hadley's baby? Baby awake.
Baby's asleep already, fortunately.
That's good for you. I'm happy for you. Actually.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Wonderful. Cheers to that. Cheers to sleeping babies.
All right. How's everybody's week? What's going on? What's new?